Hi guys, I'm Ken Gimmons and this is my take. Today we're talking about photographic equipment and saving money in the process of purchasing said photographic equipment. And I've got crap sitting everywhere, sorry. My very first real camera, well my first real camera was like a little, actually a Canon 100, point and shoot was my first, what I considered to be my real camera, because you could do things with the Canon that you couldn't do with other point and shoots. I stepped up several times to to film photographic cameras like the Canon AE1 and a few lenses, and then I moved on to the Sony A6000, and this is really what really I fell in love with photography after this. I have since mounted a 50mm. It's a Canon 50mm f 1.8, I think, or it might be a 2.8. That's a 1.8. Manual lens on it, and that's kind of my go-to lens always. I pretty much live with that. Not because it's the greatest lens in the world, because you really have to work with it in order to get good photographs with it. It's one of those deals where if you want a really good photograph of say, a man and his wife, or just his wife, you really have to get close in order to get decent bokeh. It's not the greatest lens in the world, but it's also not the worst. The camera itself, it's lasted me. I've got just an estimate. I'm saying 40,000 shutter clicks out of it, actuations out of it, and I like it. I like it because of its form factor more than anything. I can throw it. I didn't realize how much I liked it until I purchased a larger DSLR. On the advice. Watching Ken, I never can remember the guy's last name. I always remember him as the Angry Photographer. If you're into photographic channels, then you know precisely who I'm talking about. On his advice, the poor man's DSLR, or the poor man's starter DSLR, or whatever, was the D7100 from Nikon. I got this thing at a song. I bought it from, I found it on the marketplace, actually, on Facebook. And I bought it from a wedding photographer who, he has two of these. He has one, he actually shoots the weddings, which I don't know if I'd want. You could, obviously you could, with the right glass. This glass is just something I bought for the time being. He had the camera itself, and I talked to him. I mean, I'm the kind of person, when someone gives me a price, it's like, okay, now we know what you're asking for it. Now what will you take for it? And, sometimes it doesn't work out, but a lot of times it really works out. Man, I got this thing for a song. It had 6,500 shutter clicks, 6,500 shutter actuations on it. And I was like, I can do that in a day. It has its downsides, but for the most part, it's a fantastic camera. You have to learn to use it, though. That's the thing. It's not as intuitive as my little Sony. It's not, in other words, it's not exactly for the amateur. It's geared more toward a prosumer. It's a prosumer camera, really. There are people who do jobs with this, and I mean, hell, if someone wants to pay me money to do a job, I'll do it. Learning how to take photographs with this is much more difficult. I will say that than it is with the Sony. There is a learning curve, and I'm getting there. My photographs are getting better and better, and I'm starting to upload some. I can't wait to actually go travel. I love taking waterfall photographs, and I want to This lens is not terrible. This lens is not terrible. It's also not fantastic. I don't think. Anyway, it's just not. It's a 3.5. It's a let's see, what is it? I mean, it's a good walk around lens. 18 millimeter to 200 millimeter, 3.5 to 5.6. Yeah, which means it's you know it's one of those that will suffice. You know, if you don't have anything else really. But what I'm really after right now, it's a matter of talking the wife out of it. There is a guy who has a, let's see, it is a 16 to 80 f1.8, or no, f2.8. Perfect. That would be it's not the fastest lens on the planet, but at the same time, I think that I could really get some serious photographs, in particular street photos. And that's another thing that I have always heard street photographers say, that a larger DSLR is not as good as a small camera because people notice it more. And I always thought, that's just them. And guess what? It's not. When you take this, I took this thing to a festival, to a what they call the Bacon Festival here in Cleveland, Tennessee. We're just outside of Chattanooga. When I took this thing to the Bacon Festival, it is almost impossible to take a photograph. I don't care if they're 100 millimeters out. It's still literally impossible to take a photograph of this where the people aren't staring at the lens. They're like, what's this guy doing? They're curious. You know, some of them are thinking, oh, okay, I wonder if he's professional. Is he doing this? Which I kind of, when I get into my groove of taking photographs, I kind of lose track of, I'm pretty sure I kind of look and act like a professional, if that makes sense. That's all I really care about is taking the photograph. And in some cases, people are strange when it comes to taking their photograph, which is, I understand. It's your people consider it their privacy, and a lot of times they consider you photographing them without their permission as an invasion of their privacy. And don't get me wrong. If I get a scowl, I just won't take the photograph, or I'll just immediately delete it right in front of them. They don't even have to ask. It's not that big a deal, unless it's something spectacular. I have had some street photographs in Atlanta that are just fantastic. I mean, in my opinion, it doesn't mean that. Now you guys may look at it and say it's just a girl in a mini skirt, or it's it's a homeless dude or something. Which I don't chase around homeless people. Let's make sure we get that straight. I don't chase homeless people around to. It's low hanging fruit as far as that goes. Now there are exceptions. There was one guy feeding, and my interest was in him more than it was the homeless people, because this guy was clearly, a fantastic guy. He was walking around with a gigantic sack like Santa Claus, basically. And he would come across homeless people in Atlanta. And I don't know if you've been to Atlanta, but Atlanta's full of homeless people. He was just handing them things that they wanted. He would ask them if they needed. He had toothpaste, toothbrushes. He had food, candy, snacks, chips. How can you not take a photograph of such a good Samaritan? You have to. I mean, it's. I didn't get a great photograph of it, but I had to document it because this guy was a good man. Usually homeless people, like I said, they're low-hanging fruit. Therefore, I don't even attempt to get them. Street musicians, different story. I mean, I love taking photographs of street musicians, in particular good street musicians. Nashville, when you go to Nashville, there are a lot of, I don't know if they're homeless or if they just arrived in Nashville and they're playing on the street to make a living. There are some talented people just standing around picking their guitar and singing, and there are some people who clearly don't really know what they're doing. They're just banging on it, making noise, so you'll come give them money, or playing the same chord over and over and over. But you have to take those photographs, and I recommend Nashville's a great place for street photography. I think it's not necessarily people going about their daily routine. It's people who are there to party, and I love taking pictures of people having fun, and occasionally people who had too much fun and are acting idiotic. And you will. And don't get me wrong. You do occasionally have the one drunk who he's had too much to drink, and you didn't realize it when you took the photograph, and he doesn't like you taking the photograph. Therefore, he's going to tell you not to take the photograph. All you simply do is you be polite, or you should be polite about it and say, okay, I'll get rid of it. And most of the time, 99.9% of the time, I do get rid of the photograph. If I tell you I'm going to, I do. I'm pretty much a man of my word. One of the benefits of being a really big guy, which I am, is that I don't get a lot of throwback. Occasionally, alcohol tends to make people say things that they might not normally. And a lot of times, alcohol will actually, create a situation where they want a photograph taken. So, but there are advantages to being a big guy, and that's one of them. People who have had a few too many don't tend to, how do I delicately put this? If you're a small guy, bullies tend to pick on you before they will someone who they know can step on them, and that's the advantage of being a big guy in a place where people are partaking of alcohol and you're trying to take photographs. The disadvantage is a smaller guy can actually get in and get an angle, and a lot of times can take the photograph without ever being noticed, and he's not really considered he's not seen by a lot of people as maybe a threat. And I think a lot of times when I'm in that situation, people perceive me as perhaps a threat, and then I have to talk. And I don't particularly. I like to, when I'm in that frame of mind, I like to take my photographs. I don't like to speak. I'll smile. Now, if I take someone's photograph and they're looking at me, I always give them a smile, let them know it's like, I'm not a weirdo. I let them know by the look that I'm an artist, or I'm trying to be an artist. And I really hate explaining that to people. I have had women or young girls who think that, and I understand wholeheartedly, because there are some creeps out there. I have had some young ladies who would give me a look that's like, come on, man, you don't do this. You're like I'm doing something overtly perverted, and that's never, or most of the time, it's not the case. It's never the case, really. I actually took a photograph of a lifeguard at the beach, and since then, I know what you guys are saying. He took a camera to the beach. You're weird. Since then, I kind of don't take the cameras to the beach. My wife kind of said, that's something that's kind of creepy. I've never been one to go to the beach and hunt down girls in bikinis to take photographs. Don't get me wrong, I love girls in bikinis, but it's just really, really creepy to take a rather expensive camera out in the sand so you can take pictures of bikinis. That's not my deal. Although, if you're walking around on the beach with a camera, it kind of appears that way. So, one of the favorite shots I've ever taken actually was on the beach, and was actually with a little Nikon J1 or whatever. I hate the camera. The photographs that come out of it are perfectly fine. It's just there are no buttons outside. You have to go into the menu to set every damn thing. It's horrible. Once you get to know it, it's like, man, I want to hit a button to if I want to change my shutter speed. I don't want to have to go into a damn menu. Beside the fact, it's a silhouette of a lot of people on the beach, kids playing, people walking in the sunlight, it's pretty much got everyone blacked out. So it's silhouettes of everyone on the beach. And you can see the ocean. You can make out the ocean and the sky behind them very well. That's one of my favorites. Probably not yours, but it's one of mine. It is a passion that people do not understand. If you're not a photographer and you're not into photography, then you don't get it. But one thing that I am slowly but surely learning, don't get me wrong, I want a 850. I want a Nikon D850. Hell, I want a 1DX Canon. I'll definitely want a Fuji XH1. I want a Sony was an A7 III. But none of those cameras are going to give you excellent photographs. Well, no, they'll give you excellent photographs, but they're not going to give you subject matter that's excellent. It has nothing to do with the camera. This camera is actually older than my than my little A6000. With practice, this camera will help me capture the art I want to capture. It has not a damn thing to do with this, though. Lenses help, but if you can't capture a photograph, a beautiful photograph with a GoPro for that matter, then it's just not in you, dude. You don't have the vision, the creativity or the artistic effect to do so. So that's the whole point. That's what I'm trying to say. Not so sure I'm being effective. Is that anyone can take a photograph, and now it seems like everyone and his mother is a photographer, and there are a lot of really great photographers now also. But just because you have $20,000 camera in hand does not mean you're a great photographer. It means you have the ability to be such, but the art comes from in here. It does not come from the camera you hold. And that's my point. You do not have to spend $10,000 to become you do not have to spend $10,000 to create photographic art. It doesn't work like that. It has nothing to do. And recently, another guy I follow, and I'm so sorry, man, I cannot remember. The Art of Photography is the, and I highly recommend subscribing and watching this guy. He's knowledgeable, just like he said. Ansel Adams, and Ansel Adams is one of the main reasons that I actually even ever picked up a camera, because I went to Yosemite and I learned about Ansel Adams, and he's basically the forefather of fantastic landscapes, and he also with I want to say Teddy Roosevelt is the reason that we have so many national parks that we can go and enjoy and just take in the splendor of nature in our own country. Otherwise, then someone would have purchased that land and built a house right on top of a waterfall or something. So, but Ansel Adams had like a gigantic box camera that probably, my point is, he did not have modern technology, and he still was able to come across with amazing photographs. And if you've never heard of him, I suggest you look him up and look at his photographs and realize, man, this guy loved life. He loved nature, and he loved America. He loved the United States to the point where I think he just slept. I mean, at that time, I don't think there were too many places to lodge in most of these places. So he would carry this gigantic camera everywhere and take photographs of Yosemite and Yellowstone, and he took photographs of other places too. But anyhow, I'm rambling and digressing and all that good stuff. So that's it. How much money you spend on your photographic equipment does not mean that you're going to get a fantastic image. Thank you for watching.